Well, welcome everybody to the call. Thank you so much for choosing to be here tonight and spending your Monday evening with me. It was me or the Bachelor, so I figure I appreciate you coming to the call tonight. And here we are. We are about to transition into spring, which is such an exciting time of year. And this year in particular feels like even more important because of what we've just been dealing with for this last year with the pandemic. And so just it's like we've survived, we've made it. And normally at this time of year, we feel like we've survived a long winter, a really cold winter, but we also add the pandemic to it. And it really does almost feel like finally we can take a breath of fresh air and just feel like we're on the other side. So it's a very meaningful time of year right now for all of us. For those of you who are new to my work and new to me, I'll just do a brief introduction, but obviously I'm Amy Bondar. I've been practicing nutrition for 18 years. And for me, ultimately, my mission is to help people transform their relationship with food, with body, and with themselves. And I do that in many different ways. Physically, I awaken people to the power of food to help them alleviate symptoms, improve conditions, and move their bodies to a greater state of energy and vitality. Emotionally, I also do a lot of work to help my clients resolve stresses and conflicts that are at the root of eating challenges, weight issues, and even the manifestation of symptom in the body. And soulfully, I also nourish the soul by helping people really create a joyous relationship with food, but also ensuring they're living their lives with meaning and fulfillment, because a lack of that can definitely contribute to our symptoms, to our weight issues, and even our eating challenges. So there's much that I do, but tonight, because we're talking about seasonal eating, we're really going to be focusing a lot on the physical nutrition. And within seasonal eating, this is where I really draw on Eastern philosophies. So we're going to speak about Ayurveda and also holistic principles. So we're really going to sort of not necessarily focus on the science of nutrition tonight and the Western philosophies. We're going to go back to the East and back into holistic and really sort of share some lovely insights about the way in which we can approach nutrition and nourishing ourselves. So that's what you can expect for tonight's lecture. And again, just to repeat, all of you on the call and everybody that registered will get the link tomorrow with the lecture notes. So no need to panic about writing everything down. So I'm going to share my screen now here. And so you can see the lecture notes, and we're going to jump right in. So welcoming everybody to transitioning your diet and lifestyle to the spring season. And like I said, it's such an exciting year for us, or time of year for us. So Elson Hawes is the author of Creating Health with the Seasons. And he writes, "Spring is here. It's time to cheer and shine like the sun. Come out and play, dance your dance. This is nature's birthing season. It's the time of creation and development. All is restored with life at the beginning of spring." So there's many reasons why I teach seasonal eating, and really for as long as I've been practicing nutrition, I've been teaching this principle. So every year, 18 years, I do this lecture, and I love it. And I personally live seasonally and try to nourish my body with the seasons. Because the truth is, there is really a purpose. There's a magnificence to what Mother Nature provides for us at every single season. And if we are in alignment with that, if we're conscious to that, if we're connected to that, we give our body exactly what it needs to be well and to prevent illness and disharmony within the body. So spring, obviously, we're going to talk about all of the cleansing foods that Mother Nature naturally gives to us at this time of year. Summer, we eat a lot of cooling food. So a lot of our fruits are abundant. Our garden vegetables, our cooling vegetables like peas and carrots and cucumbers, these all really help to cool the body and cool the heat from the excess heat of summer. And then in fall, we start to build up the body with warmth. We eat more legumes and nuts and seeds and nut butters, and we crave more meat and density to our diet because we're building and we're preparing to store our energy for the long winter months to come. And in winter, we get more heating food because we need to insulate. We need to keep warm. We need to stay hydrated for the long winter, dry, cold months. So when we eat the right foods at every season, we give the body what it needs to be well and what it needs to function at its very best. When we eat seasonally, we also connect to Mother Earth. We connect to our body wisdom. And this is a very, very important nutritional principle for me. I love to help people awaken their nutritional intuition, their inner nutritionist. And when we align with the seasons, we very much allow the body to guide us. In the nutritional world, it has become so focused on book knowledge, right? And on the perfect way to eat and the one system and the one diet. But seasonal eating really encourages us to eat with the rhythm of nature and be in flow with nature. It's a very feminine way to approach nutrition versus eating from a very masculine perspective, like weighing, perfect system, perfect diet, always following a structured plan, etc. So it's a very beautiful way to approach your food and approach your nutrition. And we're also very connected to this hidden intelligence. There's this hidden order that happens in the universe and that happens within nature. And again, just without even having to think about it too much, we get these perfect balancing foods that you're going to learn tonight that are exactly what the body needs. And so it's a really exciting way to think about your food, knowing that there is just this brilliance to the food that we have to eat. It just makes so much sense. And of course, when we eat seasonally, we're connected to the markets, we're connected to the local farmers, the growers. Often, when we just shop at big grocery stores, we can get whatever we want all throughout the year. But when we eat seasonally and we go to the markets and the health food stores, it's really very clear what is available and what is most balancing at every season. And so we start to eat the right foods in the right season. And by doing so, we create variety in our diet. And that's also an important nutritional principle, because the more variety we bring to our diet, the more variety of nutrients and nutrition we bring to the body. We can't get everything we need in one season, right? We have to have it throughout the whole year. And so every single season, when we change our diet and we bring in different tastes and textures and kinds of foods, we actually bring this beautiful variety, this beautiful rainbow of nutrients into the body that is so required for health and vitality. And also, when we eat seasonally, we maintain balance throughout the year. And balance, basically, wellness does not come without balance. So, eating seasonally is one of the ways we achieve balance, and it prevents us from getting sick. So, in the junction of seasonal changes, we often will tend to get more prone to colds and flu. So, for example, if you remember at the end of summer into fall, that's usually the time when people get sick. And the reason is because we're often still living in our summer lifestyle and our summer foods, eating our summer foods too long into the fall junction. So we have to learn to transition by sort of mid-August. We have to get out of the summer mode and start eating in fall. But if we don't do that, and if we don't start getting back into structure and routine that fall requires of us, we get sick. And the same happens now. This is a very sensitive time for people to get more colds and flu, because we're typically staying stuck in our winter diet and our heavy winter stagnant lifestyle for too long. And we need to adjust and adapt into spring. So even a few weeks ago, you may have started to notice that your cravings were starting to change. What you may wanted to have eaten in winter, you're not really wanting to eat anymore. So if you fight that and you don't really listen to that body intuition and wisdom, you're not putting in the right foods, and that will allow you to get more toxic, more sluggish, and then you get sick. So really, the more connected we are to nature, the more healthy we are. And I can tell you, many times I have so many clients that have journeyed with me throughout the seasons, and many used to come to me with low immunity. And as soon as they started to eat seasonally, they always would say, I can't believe I haven't gotten so many colds and flus like I used to. They barely get sick anymore. And it's because they're more balanced and in alignment with nature. So before we open the door on spring and talk all about spring, we want to close the door on winter. So let's think about where we were. So winter was a time of hibernation. It's a time to conserve our energy. It's a time for more inner reflection. For many, it's a very sensitive time, especially if you tend to more issues with seasonal affective disorder, if you have a hard time without seeing a lot of sunshine, and if you're not motivated to get outside into nature when it's cold. So it can be a very sensitive and emotional time. Naturally in the winter we crave and we eat heavier, denser food because we need that food to insulate us and keep us warm. So things like root vegetables are plentiful, so we eat a lot of roasted root vegetables, lots of soups and stir fries, warming oatmeal, brown rice, and like one pot meals are sort of the ideal food because it just really grounds us, it earths us, it keeps us insulated and warm. And that's a really important thing. And what happens is, even if you're not taking all of that food in winter, you get cold, you get dry, you get scattered, you feel ungrounded. So there's a reason why we need to eat those foods at that time of year. And just so you know, it is normal to gain some weight during winter. It's typical naturally to gain 5 pounds at this time of year. With the pandemic, it has happened that more people have gained more weight this year because we've had overindulgence of alcohol and food and emotional eating and toxins from all the electromagnetics and stress. So there's been a lot more of that this year, but typically we gain 5 pounds. But that's meant to be there. That is the insulation weight that keeps us warm. And what happens is, as we transition into spring, and we get back into fat burning mode in spring, that 5 pounds comes off really naturally. So that's really important, because if you don't transition your diet into spring and you still live in the winter stagnation and you don't stimulate change in the body, the weight slowly creeps up. And so that's why people feel like, oh my God, I've gained like 10, 15, 20 pounds this year, because the reset never happened in spring. So this is the big message to take home, that you'll always remember at the junction of winter to spring. Come mid-March, everybody, next year you'll be thinking, okay, I really got to switch. I got to reset. I got to get into my cleansing so that I can reset my metabolism. So now we open the door to spring. And this is the time for renewal and rejuvenation and new beginnings. Like I said at the very beginning, it's like a breath of fresh air. We can really just feel like, oh my gosh, we survived another year. We've got out of the winter. We can now step into new things and vibrancy again. And spring also marks the beginning of a building phase. So, what that means is that within the seasons, we have this cycle that goes on. So, basically, in fall and winter, we sort of begin a downward swing, or what we would call it like a destruction phase, where the leaves are falling off the trees. Come winter, everything's stuck and frozen and still deep into the roots, into the ground. But then in spring, everything starts to open up again, right? We're going to start seeing the little green sprouts, the little grass that's going to come through. We're going to see, the little buds on the trees that are going to start to awaken. So we open up and we build again in spring. And then come summer, we're in our most blooming, expansive, energetic state. So at the end of winter, we should feel kind of the lowest that we felt all year. That's very normal to feel that if you do. But come the end of summer, you've hit the other part of the scale, and you're feeling the most energetic and vibrant. So just know that the body goes through these phases, and it's just important to lean into them, knowing where you're at within the season. So now we're more outward, we're more expansive, which is really important. I think if you actually, yesterday or this past weekend, it was so beautiful. I don't think I've seen as many people outside that I have all year. But we just want to get out. We want to get out of our homes, and we naturally feel like cleansing and healing the body, and also our life. For me personally, I was spring cleaning my whole kitchen. I did my fridge yesterday to get ready for the upcoming 30-day spring program. I cleaned out my closet. So there's just this feeling that we want to kind of cleanse and clean out, correct? And even outside, we're listening to the birds chirping. The sun is coming up earlier. There's life, there's energy starting to happen again. And as I said, you should notice that your cravings are starting to change. You may desire cooling food, more salads. Again, I can just use myself as a personal example. I was eating oatmeal every single day for winter, and about 2 weeks ago, I just stopped. It was like I just couldn't, I didn't even want it anymore. And I also crave more salads. I barely eat much salad over winter. I do a lot more roasting and cooking of my vegetables. So I hope that some of you have been noticing that as well, that your taste buds are wanting to change. Your body is calling for different things. And that's exactly what it should be doing. So before we get into the specifics of the spring diet and what that looks like, I really want to share the principles of Ayurveda. So Ayurveda is an ancient form of East Indian healing. It's our oldest healing system. It's dated back 5,000 years. It's older than Chinese medicine. And I've been practicing and teaching Ayurveda for as long as I've been working, as for 18 years. And I do personalized Ayurvedic sessions and consults, so you know exactly what your body type is and how to best take care of it for wellness and prevention. But Ayurveda really explains that, again, in order to be well, we must be in balance. And in order to be well, we must be in alignment with nature and with the elements of nature. And so when we're talking about seasonal eating, we want to understand that each season is made up of different elements. So right now we're heading into spring, which are made up of the elements, which is made up of the elements of water and earth. So if you think of the elements of water and earth, well, all you need to do is go walking outside. It's mucky, it's muddy, it's damp, it's moist. It's kind of just messy outside, okay? And that is what's happening within our body as well. We have more moisture, more mucus, more dampness, more weight, more water weight within the body. And so what we want to do, and what nature naturally does and provides for us, is that we want to be eating foods that counter the cool, damp, wet qualities. And those foods and those tastes are very specific. They're actually astringent tastes, which are very drying tastes, like legumes, tea. If you drink green tea, it leaves a sort of drying taste. Right now, I'm personally drinking moringa tea, which is a very dry Ayurvedic herb. It dries up the excess moisture. Lemons and herbs also have astringency to them. So we want to take in the foods that sop up all that excess moisture and mucus that we have within the body. And pungent food like garlic and onion and radish and chilies, microgreens are pungent, like a broccoli microgreen, for example, or broccoli sprouts, super pungent. And what those do is they help to stimulate fat burning. They help to break up all of the toxins and the mucus that is stuck and stagnant in the body and flush it out of the liver. And then the bitter greens help to support the liver detoxification. So our Brussels sprouts, arugula, fiddleheads, which will eventually come in spring, leafy greens, spring mixes, all of those have the bitter tastes. So the idea is that if we are in the watery, damp, wet, moist season, we do not want to be eating watery, damp, moist, heavy food. We don't want to eat in a lot of sweet, sour, and salty taste, because that enhances moisture within the body. And we did that. The idea is that we did that in fall and winter. We ate a lot of that food, and you probably weren't even aware of it, but that's what the food that you would naturally have eaten with those one pot meals and more meat and more fats. They have those tastes. So now what we want to do is we want to get rid of those and open up to bitter, astringent, and pungent to give the body what it needs to maintain balance. Does that make sense? So every season, then what happens is that the seasons are made up of different elements, and those elements dictate the qualities of the season, but the foods that we need to bring in to counter those qualities to maintain balance. So what happens now is that if we continue to eat our winter heavy, sweet, sour, salty diet, we gain more weight, we feel more sluggish, we get more toxic, we get more mucus and congestion, we'll get more respiratory infections, and we'll typically end up just feeling stuck, stagnant, sort of like stuck in the mud kind of feeling and concept. So we want to counter that. So this is really important. This is the premise of seasonal eating and spring principles. So now that you understand that, we're going to talk about the most balancing foods for spring and how to really build your spring diet. Now, when we're talking about whole foods, there's no bad food, okay? There's just more balancing foods. And these are the foods that we want to bring in, most of the time. So if 80% of your diet is built around these balancing spring foods, you'll do really well offering your body what it needs for wellness. So the goal of spring is to cleanse the excess fat and protein of a long, low metabolic winter and re-stimulate the body to burn fat as fuel throughout the spring and summer. So this re-stimulation naturally detoxifies the extra proteins and carbs stored in the fat cells. So it's really important to understand that in winter we naturally go into slower, sluggish metabolism. That's why in January and February, for those on the call that did my 30-day metabolic shakeup program, we were trying to stimulate and rev up that slow, sluggish metabolism. And now we move into spring where we really need to do it so that we prepare the body to receive all of the carbohydrates that we're going to get in the summer. So if we don't do that, then what happens is we don't handle a high sugar, high fruit diet, for example, in the summer. And that causes us to store more body fat and imbalance our blood sugars. So if we support our body right now in spring, we set our body up properly for spring and then going into fall where we eat a bit more grains. So it's very, very important. That's why I always say spring is the most important time of year to change your diet because it sets up the rest of the year for success. It's really, really important. So let's begin with the protein. Now, for those who have worked with me before, we always know about your nutritional foundations is that we always want to have protein with each meal. That will keep you satisfied, satiated, free of craving. It will build your muscle mass and give you all of the amino acids you need to produce the feel-good hormones in the brain. Now, in spring, though, we want lighter, leaner protein, okay? Eggs they're a wonderful spring food, but the quality of how we take in our eggs is very interesting. So in fall, we would probably want more omelets, more scrambled eggs because they're denser, they're moist, they're heavier, they're warmer. But now in spring, you may find that you're desiring and craving more hard-boiled eggs or poached eggs or over easy eggs. So nothing too heavy, nothing too oily. Chicken and turkey breast is going to be preferred more than a chicken and turkey thigh. And even for me, like I'm a dark meat kind of girl. I love my chicken thighs. I love turkey thighs. But now I'm sort of like, I don't want that excess fat from the meats. I want to go leaner and lighten up the protein. Duck and lamb, they are higher, denser meats, but they're wonderful. They're very seasonal for spring, and they actually bring in a lot of the astringent and bitter taste that we actually need at this time of year. And I know that some of my friends here that are listening, Carrie in particular, we've been enjoying our duck very much so lately. So it's quite nice to be bringing that into the diet right now. Fish is also more craved at this time of year, and especially the lighter fish. More white fish is desired, whereas in the winter, maybe we would want more wild salmon. And not to say you can't have salmon at this time of year, but you may just notice that it's a little bit heavier, it's a little bit denser, a little bit more moist, whereas a white fish is a little bit drier. And so that's something that you may want to switch. And legumes are also a good plant-based source of protein. However, they can be hard to digest and they're not right for every body type. But from an Ayurvedic perspective, they're astringent, they're dry, they leave that dry, tanniny taste on the tongue. So using chickpeas in the form of hummus or adding them to salads, using a lentil soup for a lunch, mung bean soup. Some of you who are doing my 30-day spring program coming up, mung bean soup will be in the program. Khichdi, which is a healing Ayurvedic recipe that's very good for detoxification, will be in there. And things like black beans. So you can use a bit more beans right now if you're able to digest them. So naturally we crave less red meat. And this is the time of year, if you're somebody that likes dairy, I highly recommend you do a little bit of a break, a little detox from dairy. The reason is dairy is number one, it's sour. So it's a great sort of fall winter food if you're not intolerant to it. But it's very sour, it's very moist, and it also is very congesting and mucus forming. So it goes completely against what we're trying to accomplish in spring. So we want to break up the mucus, we don't want to add it. So if you're somebody that eats dairy and you notice after you eat it, you get a runny nose, you have to clear your throat a lot. If you have dark circles under your eyes, if you get acne, if your bowels become either congested with constipation or explosive with diarrhea, you know that dairy is not ideal for you. It will not balance you. It will more stress you. So we really want to try to get rid of that, with the exception of some yogurt if you choose. One of the most wonderful ways to do yogurt is to add some fresh grated ginger into it because it breaks up the mucus forming effects of the yogurt. So that's something that you could try, and it's very refreshing. It's delicious, and it's just a really nice spring accent to your yogurt. So those are the proteins that we mostly focus on, and that builds the spring protein. Now, we want to reduce our fats. Now, fats are essential. We need them. They produce our hormones. They feed our brain. They balance our insulin. They lubricate our joints and our hair. And, we can't make them in our bodies. So they're essential to take them in from our food. The idea is, though, that we've got plentiful fats in fall and winter. And so what we want to do now is sort of cut back on the fat. We want to lighten up our fats, if that's a bit of an oxymoron, but we just want to choose different ones and not be as liberal as we may have been in fall and winter. Because in fall and winter, we needed a lot of oil to combat the dryness, to combat the coldness that we had. Fats are very grounding and balancing for the vata, the fall season. So vata is the air and space season. It's fall and winter in Ayurveda. So we've stocked up on enough. And so now what we want to do is just use a little bit of clarified butter, which is ghee. So basically ghee just means that the butter has been boiled down. The whey protein and the casein, so the milk proteins rise to the top and they get skimmed off. So you're just left with the milk fat. But there's very healing, beneficial properties to ghee. It's very good for gastrointestinal inflammation. There's anti-cancer properties, anti-inflammatory properties. So it's a wonderful thing to use, a wonderful fat to use. And ghee is great because it doesn't have a high smoke point. It has a high smoke point. So it's better to saute and cook with than butter, for example. So you can buy ghee at the health food stores. You can also make it. For those of you who have my book, there's a recipe for how to make ghee. So it's definitely worth using that. And then olive oil, of course, is amazing. I love it. It's one of our best monounsaturated fats, but it can be a bit heavy and dense. And so you may choose to lighten that oil and go more into a flax or a hemp oil for salad dressings. Again, it doesn't mean you can't use olive oil, but you may want to stimulate and change up the type of oil that you're using for something different. And if you're somebody that eats a lot of nuts and nut butters, this is also a time where we want to start to pull back on that. They were plentiful and so welcomed in fall and winter, but now we want to go a little lighter. So seeds are a better choice, like pumpkin seeds or sunflower, putting flaxseed in a smoothie, or chia seeds, making like a chia pudding, for example, hemp seeds in a smoothie or on top of soups or salads. Those are all wonderful. They're lighter, they're drier, they're a bit more astringent, so they work quite well. But something like a dense nut, like walnuts or a macadamia nut or cashews, they're just too heavy and oily for spring when we're trying to sort of counter those qualities right now. And if you are choosing any nuts, you're better to go with like a pine nut or an almond. The best way to eat almonds is even to have them skinless, because the skins are hard to digest. So those are just some ways to use your fats. And, again, it doesn't mean you can never have avocado at this time of year, but perhaps if you use a half of an avocado as a portion size, maybe you go into a quarter of an avocado. If you liberally drizzle oil on your salads, maybe we're cutting back just a little bit and measuring a tablespoon, just so you're aware of how much you're putting on. So it's not a no fat diet. We love our fats, we need them, but we just want to change the quality and the amount that we use in spring. Because if we don't, we can get more sluggish and toxic in our liver and gallbladder. So we also want to watch our grains, and we change the quality of the grains right now. So again, remember when I had mentioned that like I was eating oatmeal almost every winter, or every day in winter, and now I've just sort of stopped, because it's sticky and it's moist and it's damp, as are many of our other grains that we eat. Brown rice, it's a wonderful fall and winter grain, but it's a little heavy, moist, and damp for spring. Many of our glutinous grains, wheat, barley, spelt, kamut, those are very damp, they're very moist, they're very sticky. So what we're trying to do is we want to not sort of congest the intestines, and we don't want to congest the liver and the gallbladder. So removing these kinds of grains is really important, but then we can focus on lighter, drier grains. So we can use things like amaranth flour, buckwheat flour, millet, dried oats, like in the form of maybe a granola, for example, that's homemade, quinoa, wild rice. If you're not sensitive to gluten, the example of using a rye Vita cracker, right? It's so dry, it's so crisp, but it's very bitter and astringent. So it's sort of like a perfect spring tasting cracker, for example, if you're somebody that needs crackers, or buying a rice cracker like the Likey brand, which is important. Sorry, excuse me. I just have somebody sending in a chat here. Okay, sorry, that's okay. Somebody's just sending me a message. Just want to make sure there was no questions. Yeah, so it's just changing the quality of the grains. That's really important. And so we're just using some different grains and watch bread. So we're going to try to remove bread in spring because it's damp, it's moist, it's sticky, especially bread that's made with yeast. So one of the kapha imbalanced symptoms that we can get is candida, yeast overgrowth. So if we have too much kapha in us, meaning if we have too much moisture and dampness and heaviness and coolness in the body, we can get yeast overgrowth. So if you have a white coating on the tongue, if you get vaginal discharge, if your hormones are out of balance, if you just sort of feel like yeasty in the body, those are signs that you may have candida. And so really watching the yeast that you're taking in, how much glutinous grain you're taking in is important, because it can really help to get rid of those and change the quality of your grain so that you create a better terrain within the body. So typically most of us in spring can go without grain or up to 1 serving a day, which is about a half a cup serving. So if you're somebody that works out a lot, probably cutting grains doesn't work. As some of you have learned while working with me, right? But those who, don't really feel the need for grain or have a lot of stagnation in the body could probably go days without missing it too much. So you just listen to your body and just put in the most balancing ones when you feel the need. So now let's talk about fruit. So fruit's not really plentiful yet. We go abundantly high on fruit in the summer, but right now we're still not quite there. Our bodies are not quite prepared yet to burn the carbohydrate of fruit if we eat it in excess. So what does well for us is more dry, astringent fruit. So dried fruits work well, but not the heavy, sticky ones like prunes and dates. We might do better with dried apples, dried figs, dried mango. In fact, I haven't eaten dried fruit, I can't remember in how long. And then my husband happened to bring home a bag of dried figs on the weekend. I was like, oh yeah, I could totally go for some dried figs right now. So it's just naturally what you feel like in the season. But of all of the fruits, lemon and lime are where we need to really spend some time and attention. This is the season where you're going to buy bags of organic lemons and limes and have them always within your home. Lemon is so essential for detoxing the liver, and it's high in vitamin C and potassium and minerals, and it's got the astringent taste, but specifically lemon loosens up all of the catarrh, all of the toxin, all the mucus, and helps to clear it out of the liver. And lime, when we ingest lime, it actually helps to alkalinize the body. So it's very normal in winter for the body to be a bit more acidic. And so in spring, we want to bring in more alkalinity, and we do that through minerals, and we do that through specific foods like lime. So squeezing these fruits on your salads, on your fish, adding them to your water every day is so essential and helpful. And other good fruits right now, we could still eat a bit of apples, although they're the most plentiful in fall. But apples, they do help to scrape toxin from the body. Dried fruits, grapefruit, lemon, lime. And later in spring, we get raspberries, and we're going to start to see our strawberries becoming more local, more plentiful as well throughout spring. So again, for me, I can't even I had no desire for fresh berries in the winter, especially strawberries. But now it's like, oh, I kind of like those strawberries are looking good again. So again, as you eat seasonally, you really start listening to the body's cues. And the reason for the strawberries is because they actually at this time of year are very astringent. They are more drying, whereas in the summer they're more sweet. But right now they help with the astringency, the sopping up of the excess moisture. But of all of the foods right now, vegetables is where it's at. And really, at any time of year, vegetables are where it's at. But how we do our veg in spring is very, very important because they carry the astringent, the bitter, and the pungent tastes that are necessary to create balance in the body right now. So this time of year, you might be craving more salads. For those that have been working with me, we've been sharing our pictures on an app called 8. We'll talk about that in a bit, but all of us are starting to add our microgreens and sprouts. So we're really like all noticing how each other is kind of kicking it up for spring right now. Way more salads than what we did in January and February. And the desire for root vegetables should start to not feel so desirable anymore. It's just becoming less and less, and just less desire to roast those vegetables. We may want to still have cooked vegetables and steamed vegetables, especially on cold, wet days. So soups and stir fries are still great, but now we're definitely bringing in more salads again. And also, we want to be mindful of not bringing in too many damp, cool, and moist veggies. These are the ones we were going to want more in the summertime that are more seasonal for them, like tomatoes and zucchini and cucumbers. Those work really well for summer. And then the root veggies and sweet potatoes and things like this, they're much better equipped for fall, winter. So there's very specific vegetables that we want to emphasize in spring. And for a lot of people, these are the harder ones because they are more bitter, they are more astringent, they have a strong taste. But, you know, using our lemon and lime to counter them, and garlic and ginger is very helpful. So our bitter greens, again, they support liver detox. So in all of our spring mix salads, we're going to see things like dandelions and endive and radicchio, arugula. I bought a beautiful new salad green mix from Blush Lane the last few weeks that's got like beet greens and dandelion greens. It's just so vibrant, beautiful. Fiddleheads eventually will come in. As soon as you guys see fiddleheads come to, you know, probably not till mid-spring to late spring, but you know, we only get them for like 3 weeks out of the entire season. So when you see them, you get them, you bring them into the body because you only have them for such a short period of time. So when you see your fiddleheads, you'll think of me. You'll be like, ah, Amy told me to buy fiddleheads. So all of our bitter leafies are so important right now. The pungent ones, again, are going to help to stimulate that metabolism that's typically sluggish after winter and really helps to build digestive fire. It builds our digestive agni. So that's important because we want that to burn our body fat. So more onions, chopping in green onions and salads, adding radishes to your salads. We personally put radishes in our salads tonight for dinner. You know, cooking with more green chilies, just pungent food works really, really well. And then the diuretic vegetables. These are our natural veggies that pull excess moisture out of the body, like asparagus and celery, cilantro and fennel, watercress. So there's just so many beautiful diuretic vegetables that just do what our bodies are needing to do right now. And then vegetables that are rich in chlorophyll. So chlorophyll is the green pigment in plants. It's what oxygenates the plant. Within the body, they are our detoxers, they're cleansers, they're natural deodorizers. So these chlorophyll rich vegetables like leafy greens and microgreens and pea shoots and wheatgrass, or if you drink powdered greens, it will have a variety of different grasses and spirulina and chlorella in those. Those are all rich in chlorophyll. So those are important to take in. And finally, my absolute favorite veggies at spring and beyond are the sprouts, the microgreens, and pea shoots. These are like, they are spring. They are the sprouts of the vegetables. They are the baby of the vegetable before they fully age. This is where the enzymes, the minerals, the vibrancy, the vitality is. And so just like in spring, we want to start taking in these little sprouts so that we can sprout and create a new microflora within our gut so that we can have more enzymes to break our food down and more nutrient dense you know, antioxidants and minerals. So these are so important, and there's so many beautiful sprouts and microgreens at Sunterra, at Blush Lane, at Community, at Amaranth, at the farmers market. So if you're not somebody that's used to buying these, this is the time of year to fully embrace them and give them a try. Super easy to add to salads. We add them to nori wraps or lettuce wraps. We could put them on, you know, on top of a bowl of soup that's already been heated, and you just put some sprouts on top. They're great to accompany leftovers. So sometimes we lose the vitality when we're eating leftovers. So just a little dish with sprouts and microgreens with a little, you know, olive oil and lemon. It's perfect. So these are our spring vegetables that we want to just fully love on for the entire season. These are just some examples of salads. So the idea is to be creative, because really from spring until the end of summer, we're going to be eating salads. We need all of those beautiful tastes to balance the body and to keep us well. So we don't want the basic like lettuce, tomato, cucumber, and carrot salad. We could do better than that. We need to like bring color and energy and vibrancy to the salad. So these are just some ideas. I'm not going to read these through word for word for you, but you'll see them when you get your notes tomorrow. But you can just see how we bring in the different bitter greens, some sprouts, some microgreens. We're using the lighter proteins like fish or chickpeas or a chicken breast, and then bringing in different salad oils like our hemp seed oil or our flaxseed oil, for example, and then always adding some fresh lemon or grapefruit or lime onto the salad. And if you can, even grate some fresh turmeric onto your salad for the beautiful, vibrant orange color and the anti-inflammatory benefits. So this is how you do a salad. You just make it colorful, beautiful, exciting to eat, and that's just a really great way to incorporate all of the different tastes for spring. So we're going to talk about the doTERRA essential oils shortly, but that is just for those of you who already use those essential oils for your salads. Oil, whether it's wild orange or lemon, lime, or grapefruit, that's also a wonderful way to enhance the antioxidants of a meal and to bring in some really beautiful, refreshing flavor to your salads as well. Another food group that we want to talk about for spring, and they often get ignored, but these are our spices, our herbs, and our roots. So these are important at this time of year because they really help to detox the body and they purify the blood, and most importantly, they support our liver. So most of the herbs and spices are great at this time of year. We don't want to overdo salt though, because salt really enhances our moisture. When we're trying to pull out our excess water, we don't want to overdo a lot of salt. A bit of sea salt, of course, is always good, but just watch that you're not freely putting in as you may have done so in fall and winter. But all of these other ones like black pepper and cayenne and cloves and coriander and cinnamon, these are stimulating, which is important. You're going to learn in a little bit that stimulation, challenge, and change are so important for spring. So bringing in these different stimulating herbs and spices is a beautiful way to do that. Herbal teas also are such an easy way to bring in the right tastes and get the right herbs and roots into the body. So a chai tea, for example, and I'm not talking about sweetened Starbucks chai, I'm talking about a tea bag of chai herbs and spices like cardamom, chicory, cinnamon, and cloves. Those stimulate fat burning, and they also help to stimulate detoxification. Dandelion is wonderful for the liver. Fresh ginger tea is wonderful antioxidants, and it helps to purify the blood and turn down inflammation. Green tea is astringent, so it's good for the balancing taste. Sassafras tea, most people don't know about that, but sassafras tea is a wonderful liver detoxer. Nettle is rich in chlorophyll, and peppermint is great, but flora detox. So there's many different detoxification teas that you can buy at the health food store. Flora detox is one example that has, it's got burdock and milk thistle and dandelion. So it's got some of these roots and rhizomes in it. I believe it even has chicory in it as well. And then we want those mucus breaking bitter roots. So garlic, onions, echinacea, golden seal, burdock root, chicory, and ginger. So again, we don't go out of our way to add echinacea and golden seal and burdock to our food. But at Community Natural Foods, they have their bulk section where a lot of these herbs are available, and you can just buy them in bulk and steep them and make teas out of them. And so they're just different ways to add in, or again, you're looking for teas that contain these already. I just want to make one little caveat, one little side note. So in Ayurveda, we talk a lot about taking care of the liver, and we never want to overheat the liver. And there are certain herbs and spices that do overheat the liver. So dandelion and milk thistle, even though I'm saying that these are quite good, they can be heating. And so those people, if there's anybody on the call that has maybe autoimmune conditions or inflammatory conditions, you may want to go real gentle on those, not drinking dandelion and milk thistle tea every night, maybe not taking an herbal detox that's got all of these roots in there. So it's important. So for me, for example, right now I'm working with a client that's got fibromyalgia, rheumatoid arthritis. She's got Hashimoto's and osteoarthritis. So her body is inflamed and it's hot and her liver is angry. And so you know, somebody like that has to be very careful with how they go and support detoxification. So I just want to just make that side note, because everything is individualized and personalized when we're talking about nutrition. But if, again, if there's anybody on the call that has conditions like that, I want you to be more careful when you're putting in some of these detoxers, because we don't want to make the liver more angry. We want to be supportive and gentle and not excessive. And then again, here are our doTERRA essential oils. So these guys are wonderful to add into the diet. Essential oils are just so powerful. If you want to learn more about them, I have on my website an Essential Oils 101 webinar that you can listen to. But basically, adding 1 to 3 drops of these plants to your diet, these medicinal plants, are game changers. They detox in a gentle way. They boost your antioxidants in a powerful way. They have many healing benefits. And so 1 or 3 drops into 1 liter of water is profound. This is what really gives us some significant, tremendous results. So you can order any of these oils off of my website. The link is there. And, you know, lemon, lime, and grapefruit, of course, are seasonal. Smart and Sassy is the metabolic blend. We use this in our 30-day metabolic shake-up program, and that really helps to stimulate weight loss and getting rid of sugar cravings and balancing insulin and detoxing the body. So that's a great blend. And Zendocrine, which for those doing my 30-day spring program will be taking Zendocrine, and it's the detoxification blend. So there's very specific oils in there that open up the elimination pathways so that the body can flush the toxins in a very gentle, safe way. So these are just simple little additions to the diet that can be so helpful. As one of my clients said, it's tiny changes with remarkable results. So this is where the essential oils can really come in for that. So during the spring, as the ground softens and plants push up out of the soil, our bodies also soften by holding on to more water weight. So you may actually be noticing that you feel like you're a little soft right now, a little watery, like there may be a little bit of weight that needs to be, you know, sent out of the body. And that's so normal. So the body rehydrates and the excess fluid flushes out toxins. But these toxins often head to the liver to be processed. And if the bitter greens, the roots, the rhizomes, and all of the tastes that we've been talking about are not taken in at this time of year, then what happens is the liver gets overwhelmed and it inefficiently deals with the seasonal cleansing. So what happens is then we recirculate toxins, and then we get more toxic, more stagnant, more heavy, more weight gain, etc. So it's so important to use the power of food at this time of year to flush the body, support the liver, support elimination in a very, very gentle and mindful, conscious way. So many people would just go and buy like a spring, you know, detox box right off of the shelf, which is fine. It will kickstart, you know, some cleansing, but it can also backfire if you're not taking in the right food and your elimination pathways aren't open. So sometimes people feel really sick when they do those cleanses. And a lot of people say that's because you're releasing toxins, which could be true, but it could also be that you're pissing off your liver. And so you have to be careful, and you have to know how to prepare the body wisely for a good detox. Bitter greens and roots will scrape the mucus off the intestines and clean the blood while helping the liver do its spring cleaning job. So there is purpose, my friends. There is purpose, there's magnificence, there's perfection to every single spring food that we're meant to take in at this time of year. And when you receive those and when you take them in your diet 80% of the time, your body's going to do what it's meant to do, which is cleanse, renew, restore, rejuvenate. So I have here some examples of how to put all of this into practice without really thinking about it too much, because you don't want to be like, oh, what's an astringent meal? Do I have enough pungency here? You don't want to get too heady about how you're doing your food. But I've sort of taken the theory now and given you some meal suggestions. So there's 3 different days. And again, when you get these notes, you'll have these in front of you. But you could start your day with water and lemon. Maybe you have eggs, whether they're over easy or poached, but this is where we put them over a beautiful bed of greens. So we want to green it up right at the start of our day with sprouts and microgreens and pea shoots, and then maybe you have a grapefruit on the side. If you need a snack, I find that most people can go without unless they're super active, but maybe some dried mango and sunflower seeds. Salad, again, really beautiful, colorful, using different vegetables than perhaps you've been using throughout the other times of the year. Add your light protein, add your good fat with the oil, and then maybe some apple cider vinegar and some grated turmeric. A snack in the afternoon could be veggies with hummus, and dinner maybe a piece of fish, some wild rice for the drier grain, and some ginger. And then in the evening, maybe you're having a dandelion tea or a flora detox, one of your detox teas, or just some fresh ginger, even just some hot water with lemon is perfect. Another day could be starting your day with a vegetable juice. So if you have a juicer, if you buy vegetable juices from the farmer's market on the weekends, just having a vegetable juice or just making your own in your Vitamix or blender that you've got. But a good spring juice could be celery, fennel, ginger, and apple. If you're somebody that likes cereal, buying something more like a chia goodness, which is just chia seeds, buckwheat, and hemp seeds. So it's got very balancing spring, dry, astringent taste versus a basic cereal, right? Add strawberries to that and maybe some organic yogurt, but again, grating that fresh ginger to break up the mucus forming effects of the yogurt. If you need it in the morning, maybe a hard-boiled egg, and then adding just green anywhere. So it could be a little bit of parsley, it could be a bit of cilantro, it could be a little bit of watercress. Anywhere you can bring in that bitter green would be great. A bowl of lentil soup and veggies with hummus for lunch, maybe a chai tea and almonds for a snack, and then dinner, perhaps a stir fry. If you felt the need for grain, maybe trying millet, and then topping up with some hemp seeds. And then in the evening, of course, drinking some ginger tea. And throughout the day, we'll talk about, different water and things you could do to your water throughout the day. But that's another spring day. And here's another one. So lemon water, and maybe you start your day with a green tea or a moringa tea. Protein shake, so you could put in your protein powder. I really recommend collagen peptides. You could put in baby greens, you could put in berries, some flax seeds, some grated ginger. And then for those of you who are doing my 30-day spring program, we're going to be adding superfoods to that. And for all of those of you who have worked with me before, you know that I'm huge on superfoods. And so we just add in different superfoods as we go. A shot of wheatgrass is a great thing to do. So if you're out and about, you can stop and get a shot of wheatgrass. A carrot ginger soup is an example of a good spring soup with some chicken breast for lunch, or strawberries and sunflower seeds. Dinner, perhaps it's a vegetarian chili and a side salad, or lamb chops with a beautiful spring salad and maybe some fiddleheads when they come out. So these are just some examples, but if you start to build your day in this way, you'll just know that you're bringing in the most balancing tastes and textures for this time of year. Oh, there's one more. Ginger tea, smoked salmon nori wraps with all of our beautiful microgreens and pea shoots. For those, again, who have done my 30-day metabolic shakeup and those that are going to be doing my spring one, we're going to get into drinking mineral broth and bone broth. That's a wonderful spring principle to do. And then all of our beautiful salad greens. Again, we may top it with a different protein today with a squeeze of lemon or lime and maybe some hummus as a dressing instead of an oil. Vegetable juice or wheatgrass in the afternoon, and maybe a lighter dinner like just some sliced turkey breast and a celery soup. And then in the evening, drinking something like a chlorophyll-rich cleansing nettle tea could work really well. So very different. Some of these foods might be new to you. It's not meant to overwhelm you. It's just like, wow, there's this abundance in nature's garden that I haven't even tried yet. I haven't even explored. And what would actually happen if I put these new things in? Again, tiny changes, remarkable results. So I want to now just talk about some spring cleansing and getting into the principles of that. So we just talked about all you can do with the power of food to cleanse your body. And there's a lot, and that's so exciting. So if you just focus on food this season, you'll do super well, right? But there's a lot of us who feel the need to cleanse and to support the body. I have to say this year, more than any year in the 18 years I've been doing this, I think that there's more toxicity right now than there ever has been. And in fact, I usually never recommend cleanses for my clients in winter, but I put a few of you that are on the call here tonight, but others as well, on cleanses back in December, because with the pandemic, there's just more toxin, there's more stagnation, there's less movement. So I've really seen a lot more hormonal issues this year, a lot more difficult, stubborn weight this year. I've seen a lot more emotional issues this year. And I really just think, obviously, it's the stresses of what's going on, but it's what we've been eating, it's how we've been living, it's feeling stuck in our homes. etc. So the point is that I think we all need to shake it up and give ourselves some really good deep cleansing at this time of year. But again, we want to do it in a gentle way, in a supportive way, not in an excessive way. All right, so spring detox. So of course, this is the time of year where we're meant to do our cleansing. We want to clear away the mucus, the toxins, the fat we've accumulated in winter. And this is always the best time of year to do it. And what I think is most important is that we use the spring foods for the entire spring season to get the most effective cleanse. So many people just focus on buying, like, again, as I said before, just a box cleanse right off the shelf. They'll do like whatever cleanse it is, or they'll try the cayenne pepper master cleanse for a week, and then that's it. And then they go back to their old ways. We need to use the entire spring season and bring in all the spring foods that will become more progressive throughout this season into the diet. This is the focus. This is why spring is the most important time of year to change the diet, because we need the entire season to really do an effective job to set the body up for success for the rest of the year. Now, in each season, we have different organs that we're meant to support, and the liver and the gallbladder are our supporting organs for this season. So in Chinese medicine, they say the liver is ruler over the spring. It is the root of life's ultimate action. And for all of those who get my newsletter, I've been very much focused on the liver the last month or so as we've started to talk about spring. The liver for us, especially as women, it's essential that we take care of her. As I've said before, she is our queen. She works harder than any other organ in the body. We must love her. We must nurture her and take too much at the root of most of our hormonal issues. So this, again, the season gives us the opportunity to really, really support her and do what we need to take good care. So of course, our liver is essential for supporting and breaking down and filtering our hormones, but also all of the toxins within our body. So it's considered the master laboratory. So we really need to make sure that we're doing the right things for it and not overstressing it. So too much alcohol, too much sugar, too much fried food, too much red meat, too much emotional stress, too many medications, pharmaceuticals. These can all be ways to stress the liver. Even birth control pills, for example, as well. So the liver is considered more spiritually as the home of the soul, and it gives us the inspiration and desire for life. So what happens if the liver gets really stagnant, we can also feel the lack of luster in our life. We can feel the lack of inspiration. We can feel like, wow, I used to be really energetic and happy, and now I'm just like angry, I'm irritable, I have lost my spark, my inspiration, and we often think, well, am I depressed? And sometimes it's like, no, your liver just actually needs to be taken care of. So a sluggish liver more physically can make us feel more like slow in the morning, like a slow morning riser. A lot of people who feel nauseous first thing in the morning and who can't eat typically have a fatty liver or toxic liver. If you have poor focus and mental clarity, if you have a lack of, like I said, lack of enthusiasm and a lot of chronic health, and a lot of chronic health problems, those are all signs of liver stagnation. So we just really want to take care of it. So if any of these things are like, oh yeah, I've got all of this stuff, then this is a good sign to know that you need to do some cleansing. And that's okay. That's great. You thank your body for the messages, for the feedback that it's giving you. And now we know what to do to take care of it. Cleansing is about purifying, letting go, saying goodbye to a chapter in life. It's a sense of loss might be felt, or mourning, or breakdown, or release of symptoms or emotions. Cleansing puts us in a little chaos and upheaval. It's not comfortable to cleanse, but it asks us to trust the process of letting go. Cleansing asks us to let go of ego, of habits, of favorite foods and substances. It's a discipline and often points us to a more spiritual or rarefied place. So cleansing is not easy, but it's purposeful, and it has, such a beautiful role to play at this time of year. So, you know, we've talked about the food, but now there's little things that we can bring in to our lifestyle to also support the cleansing. So these are very safe, these are easy, they're very practical things that we can do. So we've talked about the essential oils. doTERRA also has a cleanse and restore kit, which we'll talk about at the end of the session. And that really just is some key essential oils through supplement form that help to open up our elimination pathways. We could add liquid chlorophyll. So you can go buy liquid food store and you can add a tablespoon or two to a liter of water a couple times a day to detox, to cleanse, to refreshen the internal body. Using wheatgrass, just drinking water with lemon every day, using some of those teas that we've talked about, maybe taking a supplement with milk thistle because we know milk thistle is very healing to the liver. Using a multi-mineral. So if you're somebody that takes a lot of supplements, making sure that you're actually buying an extra multi-mineral to alkalinize the body and to really lubricate the joints at this time of year that have become more acidic and stiff through fall and winter. Things like skin brushing and reflexology, massage, facials, baths with Epsom salts. These are all beautiful body practices to really take in, especially skin brushing because our skin is one of our major elimination pathways. And so as we're detoxing and cleansing, it's really good to get some skin brushing going to get rid of the dead skin and the toxins that are coming through the body. And colonics, that's not for everybody, but you know, if you do have a lot of yeast overgrowth, if you do have chronic constipation, I highly recommend doing some colonics at this time of year because we don't want to be recirculating toxins. If you don't have healthy bowel movements, which is one of the goals of our spring program with the Cleanse and Restore Kit, is to get your bowels super healthy and super fluid and moving. Then colonics is very, very helpful. So just something to think about because that is one of the ways that women can store more toxin and body fat and recirculate her estrogens is by not having healthy bowel movements. Neti pot. I have been craving using the neti pot and I've just started using it regularly. I know some of my clients are big neti pot users, but think about the mold now, the snow mold that is so prevalent on our grass. So as we're getting outside more, you might be noticing you're more congested, you're more stuffed up, your nose is running. So it's a really good thing to do is to do the neti pot right now to flush out the nasal passageways. And then this is also important. We need to think about emotional clearing. What are we holding on to? What are our stuck emotions? How are they impacting our health? And so for many of you, you'll know that I use the DiMartini method, which is a series of questions that helps you to equilibrate your mind and resolve some of the unresolved issues in a matter of hours. It is a very powerful tool that I use in my practice. And when we clear these stuck emotions, what happens is then the body opens up, the physiology opens up and it shifts. So I deal with so many women who have weight challenges and they try everything, all the different nutrition programs, all the diets, all the different kinds of exercise. And really, it's not until we get in and clear some of the unresolved issues that there's no movement. So once we clear, then their physiological, their metabolic body opens up, and then weight just starts to happen naturally. So then all of the exercise and all the good food that they've been eating is finally works. So this is a big piece to think about at spring is do you have some unresolved stuff that needs to be taken care of at this time of year? Because if you don't take care of it, it will just prevent the quality cleansing that you could be having right now. Another wonderful spring practice is juicing. So if any of you have juicers that are sort of stuck underneath your, or behind your shelves, or down in the attic or whatever it is, or not the attic, the storage room, it's time to pull out the juicer and welcome it back to the counter, make space for it, and get the juicer going. It's such a great way to stimulate cleansing and detoxification and just getting easy pre-digested nutrients right into the body. So it's really good to do if you're feeling stagnant and fatigued and sluggish. Doing juicing is great. And if you don't do your own juices, Booster Juice, Jugo Juice are great. I think it's called Better, from the Cherry Pit at the Calgary Farmers Market. They do great juices. I so miss Juicu. I used to love Juicu and their juices, but there's lots of different places in the city that does some juicing. So highly recommend that comes in. And you don't need a lot of juice 4 to 6 ounces, because you don't want to spike your insulin and your blood sugars. You just want to get enough to open up the body and open up some energy pathways and get the vitality going. And broths. If any of you have my book, there's all of the recipes for broths are in my book. I'm happy to send you any recipes as well that I've mentioned here tonight if you send me an email. But broths are so nutritive, so alkalinizing, so good for the adrenals and the joints and the gut lining. So it's such a good mid-morning or mid-afternoon insertion. You could even just do a few days in spring where you're just juicing and you're just brothing. So you don't have to starve yourself to cleanse. That can be very stressful to the body, but just doing very supportive broths and juicing can be really, really lovely. We did a new broth called the Magic Mineral Broth back in our 30-day metabolic shakeup program, and you'll see it again in the upcoming spring program. But what a beautiful alkalinized rich broth. Like, we all loved drinking this one. So there's so many different kinds, and if you don't have time and you're not a broth maker, you're not into it, listen, so many of the health food stores now carry fresh made broths that are just freezer in the freezer, or you can buy powdered broths that you just add hot water to. So there's lots of options. There's really no reason to not be able to do a broth anymore. As for eliminations, I like to focus more on what we can have versus what we can't. But listen, the most stagnant things that create toxicity in the body are things we already know. So I'm not going to spend much time on this list, but honestly, for the love of our liver, we got alcohol as a big trigger. Too much coffee is a very big heater for the liver. It overheats and fires up the liver. And of course, all of our processed packaged refined foods or fast foods, etc. But also be mindful of your own personal hidden food sensitivities, because if you're not breaking and digesting your food down properly, if you're allergic to any of the proteins that are in gluten and dairy and soy, eggs, etc., those will recirculate. Those will create inflammation in the body. That's what will create more toxicity and make weight loss super difficult. So just be mindful that you may have some hidden sensitivities. If you've tried eating super clean and you're still not losing weight, but you've never necessarily taken out some of these common allergens, it's something to consider in the spring. So, I know this can sound overwhelming, and it's not my goal. I hope that it's inspiring and motivating. But if you do need a step-by-step approach, what we do is we eliminate toxic foods first. Just kind of get rid of the stuck, stagnant food. Then just begin to add in more whole food, more vibrant, colorful, natural food. Then start thinking about, okay, after I've done that for a few weeks, now I'm going to really emphasize all the spring foods Amy just taught me. Once you're really comfortable with that, then maybe in month 2 of spring, you start bringing in things like chlorophyll. Maybe you start going and stopping in and getting a wheatgrass every once in a while if you're out. Maybe you get very consistent on getting lemon in your water. Then maybe you start focusing on adding in a juice or a broth a day, or even a few times a week. And then maybe you're ready to finally do some supplemental cleansing, and you get the cleanse and restore kit and flush your whole system. So you don't have to do everything all at once. You don't need to overwhelm yourself, but you can just go and use the entire 3 months of spring to do all of the work that needs to get done. So please don't think all of this has to happen in a week, because then you'll feel like, oh my God, I don't even know where to start. So use the entire season at your benefit. And then know that at the end of cleansing, at the end of spring, there's always a completion. So spring, really, I want you to think about that you are entering a cleansing phase, and every phase has a beginning and an end. So we don't need to always stay in the cleansing phase. Once you've cleansed, then you're going to go into a maintenance phase, or you'll be in summer and you're just going to go into like, oh, whatever, excuse my language, but a fuck it phase. And you're just going to eat ice cream and, drink some alcohol on the patios or whatever it is. But the point is that you're just going to know that your body will get to a place of completion and renewal, and then you're ready to move on. I do see people that end up getting fearful of toxin and feel like they always need to cleanse. They always need to be taking supplements to cleanse and cleanse and cleanse. And that can become excessive and unnecessary. So just don't get stuck in this phase. Know that it will come and it will go. You'll eliminate and you'll illuminate, and you'll just feel so much better. So just finally, in our last 15 minutes of time here, I just want to talk about our spring lifestyles. So we've done a lot of talk about food, a lot of talk about how we can enhance our cleansing with products and practices. And now let's just talk about the lifestyle, because spring truly is nature's new year. This is the time to make our resolutions. This is time to make a new plan, because in winter, in January 1, we're in the lowest phase of our cycle of the year. We're sort of in, in low energy phase. So the idea of making these New Year's resolutions, they often fail because we don't have the energy to actually do them. But spring, when everything is blooming and becoming and renewing, that is when we're most inspired and most focused to get our goals accomplished. So this is the time of year for clearing the past, healing the present, and planning for the future. So we want a new daily routine. You've heard me say it a couple times: stimulation, challenge, and change. This is your spring mantra. This is like what you really want to be focusing on at this season. What can I stimulate in my body and in my life? What can I challenge in my diet and in my lifestyle? And what sort of changes can I make with my nutrition and within my life that's going to bring about a change, a renewal? So maybe it's a new exercise routine, jogging or swimming, aerobics, tennis, bar, and hopefully soon we're going to be able to get back into many of these studios to do this. But even if not, try something new. If you've been doing a ton of the same workouts online, switch them up and try something new. Tonight, we're very blessed to have my friend and colleague, Julie, on the call. Julie does Pilates. She's a wonderful Pilates instructor. And so if anybody's looking for Pilates, more movement, range of motion, and really getting into the body in a different way, I highly recommend looking up Pilates with Julie on Facebook and Instagram. And she is your woman. So definitely tap into that at this time of year. As we start to cleanse and reawaken, we also might feel we start to get more creative. And so this is a really good time to really just enhance your creativity, whether that's art, whether that's cooking in the kitchen, whether that's planning and plotting out your garden. Just become more creative and get that feminine flow back into your lifestyle. That sometimes gets stuck and stagnant in winter, but it's ready to be reawakened in spring. And self-expression, so art, music, writing. Again, as the mind becomes clearer, you'll notice this after the first 30 days of spring cleanse. After you get into month 2 of spring cleansing, you'll be like, man, my mind is like, I can think. I'm not in foggy brain. I've got clear-headed thinking. And maybe you're going to be inspired to write, or just inspired to do what maybe you used to do that you haven't done for a while. And if you're somebody that meditates, you also may find that there's not as much chatter and negative noise going on in the brain, that the mind is more open and prepared for receiving and for hearing and for having silence. So again, it's a new start. This is a time to really sit and reflect and make a new plan. What do you want to clear out in your environment? What do you want to clear out within yourself? Emotional is what I mean there, not only just physical toxins. And also, how are you going to go about spring cleaning your home, your garage, your yard, right? We have to really think about that as part of our lifestyle. It's time to just clear out the old and bring in the new. And so that's something that you really want to empower and be filled with the inspiration and energy to act upon your ideas. So this is the New Year's resolution time. So I do encourage you to take some time to write a health plan or a life plan for yourself for spring, and check in with it at the end of spring and see how you've done, what you've accomplished. So the final wisdom for spring is to fill yourself with energy and inspiration to actualize your goals. And that's where we use the power of food to really allow us to feel vital again. Just as we're going to see the flowers and the blooms all start to blossom, let your dreams blossom. And do put the spring back into your step. And remember, the more you eliminate, the more you illuminate. So this is very important. So finally, I just want to talk about my upcoming 30-day spring program, where we really take off from this spring session. Some of you are already enrolled and registered for it, and I'm very excited to have you be part of it. And just so you know, there's one, registration is meant to close today. So if you want to get in on this, if you've been inspired by what I've talked about, this is what the 30-day program looks like. So it's $10 a day. You receive a daily tip, recipe, or meal suggestion from me. I get that. You get that in your morning, in your inbox every morning. And then what we use is we use the doTERRA Cleanse and Restore Kit, which we'll talk about in a moment. And that's going to support all of the food that you're going to be working on throughout. So for example, we may focus on getting your water with lemon on our first day tip. Maybe day 2 is making a mineral broth. Maybe day 3 is adding fennel to a salad. Maybe day 4 is getting onto a spring superfood that you can add to your smoothie. So every day we just build in new different spring tips or recipes and things to support this season. Then we also use an app, which is an awesome app called U8. And literally all you do is just snap photos of your food and you get to share those with me. You get to see what I'm eating. I get to see what you're eating, but this is where you get your personal accountability coaching from me every day, almost every meal. I check to see what you're doing and offer you tips or some advice or some feedback or just encourage you and say, yeah, that was the most awesome meal. And often the people that I've been doing the 8 app with, I'm inspired by their meals and they really help to elevate my game as well. So that's a super fun app. We do a weekly Zoom check-in just to check in with the whole group and see how everybody's doing, see how we're achieving our goals, work through any challenges, and just talk about some themes or topics that are coming up. And we also have a private Facebook group where you can support one another, you can share recipes, meal ideas, ask questions, etc. So this all begins on Saturday. So if you want to get in on this, you got to let me know by tonight or first thing tomorrow morning, because all of the getting started package is being sent out tomorrow for all those who are already registered. So highly recommend it. We just did a 30-day, you've heard me refer to it, the 30-day metabolic shakeup program in January and February. We had an awesome time. The women did great. Some of them are on the call tonight. And so, I welcome you to give any feedback or share your experience for those who are on the call. And you can do that right at the end of the session. But these are the cleanse. This is the cleanse kit that I was talking about. So it looks like a lot of supplements, but what we do is we break this up throughout the 30 days. And some of these supplements we actually use into month 2 of spring. So when the cleansing is actually done. So what we do is we support with the DDR Prime. So this is a cellular complex blend. What this does is that this repairs any damaged DNA. This is incredible that we have an essential oil to repair damaged DNA. This is amazing for endocrine healing, so hormonal issues. It's amazing for autoimmune diseases. Anybody that's ever had cancer, for example, or has current autoimmune conditions, hormonal imbalance, this is a beautiful oil. Terrazymes are our digestive enzymes. So we're going to help our gut break down our food better and just absorb all the amazing nutrients we're bringing in. The GX Assist we use at the beginning of the program to help clear out toxins in the gut. So this helps get rid of parasites, yeast overgrowth, bacteria in the gut that we don't want. And then we replenish the gut and the flora with our PB Assist. This is our probiotic. Then we use the Zendocrine complex throughout the entire spring cleanse, and it's a beautiful botanical blend that supports all of the elimination pathways. So this is where we're getting more of the burdock root, the milk thistles, the roots and rhizomes that we talked about. This comes in a supplemental form. And then the Zendocrine soft gels is the essential oils that specifically open up the eliminated pathways or the stuck and blocked pathways. So all of our major elimination pathways get opened in a gentle way, but the Zendocrine soft gels are also amazing for chronic fatigue and endocrine imbalance. We'll all add lemon essential oil to our water. And then along with this kit comes the lifelong vitality pack. So once we're done our cleansing, then we replenish and restore the body with an overall our multivitamin, our omegas, and our antioxidants. So this entire kit you'll get for $245. When you buy it through me, that's the wholesale price you get. So you'll get a discount with, that's the discounted price. Regular price, I believe, is like $375. So you get quite a nice discount with that. So that I just wanted to share with you because that is the whole 30-day spring eliminate and illuminate program. We use the power of food, the power of essential oils, and the power of certain plant-based supplements, food-based supplements that help to support the body. So again, if you're wanting to look into that, you just let me know. But most importantly, I wish you all, no matter what you decide to do, I wish you the most amazing spring. one that's all about cleansing, detoxing, and renewing. And if you want to work with me one-on-one, this is how you get a hold of me. Please sign up for my newsletter off of my website, amybondar.com. And on my website, there's tons of amazing, podcasts or webinars I've already done. Lots of great resources of recipes and past articles. So there's lots you can tap into if you're new to new to working with me. And again, if you do want to do the spring program, just let me know as soon as you can. So I'm going to stop sharing here. I'm going to open up the last few minutes. I can see you guys. I feel like I've been talking to myself this whole time with the screen share. It's nice to see all your faces. But I'm going to just open up to any questions, any comments. For any of you who have done the 30-day programs, if you feel you'd like to share, just let me know. But yeah, anybody have any questions? No questions. Okay, very good. Well, thank you so much for spending your Monday night with me. I hope that you have learned. I hope you're inspired and feeling a bit motivated to switch things up. Stimulation, challenge, and change. So you'll get these notes tomorrow, and just start one thing at a time. Just put it in, and over time, you're going to just keep going and going and going and feeling awesome. That's the goal, to feel awesome by the end of spring. Okay? So I will end the call here. Thank you all so much. If you all just want to exit off on your own, for anybody that wants to stay on and just have personal questions for me or want to talk about the program, then just let me know, okay? But nice to see you, and thank you again, everybody. Happy spring.
Thank you, Amy.
Bye, Angel. Bye, Carrie. See you soon.
Thanks, Amy.
Thanks, Marn. See you soon. Great.
Thanks, Amy. I just had a question about the supplements for the spring cleanse.
Yes.
How long does it take for them to get? If I decided I wanted to use them, what's the delivery time?
Yeah, so right now it's about a week and a half. That's how long it took me to get mine. So if you're signed up to do the 30-day program, you just start and do all the food first, and then as soon as you get them, you can just start. So the program tomorrow, you're going to get the chart for the supplement cleansing. So it tells you exactly when to put the supplements in. So you just start yours on day one when you get them, but it will not interfere at all when you're putting in all the foods.
So you could kind of add them in as you go. You wouldn't necessarily need them for day one.
Nope, not at all. Not at all. And I know if you wanted to, you could order them through me, or you could also order them through Tanya, because I know she has her account too. So it's whatever you'd like, just let me know. But we would want to get them done as quick, get them ordered as soon as we can. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay, so
all right, thank you.
If you want to order them, again, just give me a call tomorrow, and I can just put them through my account for you, and we'll get that set up. I would just need your address and your credit card number.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
You're welcome. Yeah, you too. You too.
Bye.
Hi. Hi, Angel. Hi. Hi, Lena. Feel free to unmute yourself, guys, or Jacqueline.
Amy, I actually want to order the supplement package. So I was I was going to go ahead and do that. I don't know if you want me to call you after, or if you want to give me a call after, or do you want
just give me your phone number, and I'll just give you a call back in like 5 minutes as soon as when Jacqueline's off too, so that your credit card is not being shared with other people. So I'll give you a call back. Just give me your phone number really quick.
Sure, it's 403.
Yeah.
510-9683.
Okay, I'll call you back shortly. Okay. Thanks for coming on the call, Lena. Thank you. I'm so glad you've committed.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
You're welcome. Bye. Hi, Jacqueline.
That was good.
Thank you.
Thanks, darling.
I hope you enjoyed.
Yes, very good. I will look forward to seeing more when I see the notes tomorrow with the
sounds good.
The diuretic stuff and all that. Nice job, sweetie. Thank you. Thank you. Give my love. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening. Okay.
Yes, darling. Goodbye.
Okay. Bye.
Nice job. Bye-bye.
Bye.